A pleasant evening all. I feel elated to welcome Dr. Shri Shubha Vilas Prabhu, author and spiritual speaker, for gracing this occasion. My hearty welcome to Mr. Hari Tyagarajan, the Executive Director of Tyagaraja Mills, the Principal, Registrars, Deans, HODs, and my dear students. Let us start living this moment with the blessings of the Almighty. I kindly request the gathering to raise for the Tamil Thai Valthu, followed by the Kalai Thandai Valthu. Please.
நீராறும் கடலுடுத்த நிலமடந்த கெழிலொழுகும் சீராறும் வதனமென திகழ்பரத கண்டமிதில் தெக்கணமும் அதிசிறந்த திராவிடர் நல் திருநாடும் தக்க சிறு பிறை நுதலும் தரித்தனரும் திலகமுமே அத்திலக வாசனை போலனை துலகும் இன்பமுற எத்திசையும் புகழ் மணக்க இருந்த பெரும் தமிழனங்கே தமிழனங்கே உன் சீரிழமை திறமை எந்த செயல் மறந்து வாழ்த்ததுமே 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 சித்தத்துள் சிவத்தை வைத்தார் செந்தமிழ் நாவில் வைத்தார் வித்தகம் தொழிலில் வைத்தார் விருப்பினை தொண்டில் வைத்தார் எத்திசை புகழும் வைத்தார் எண்ணிலார் வாழ வைத்தார் அத்தனாம் தியாகராசர் அண்ணலை கருத்துள்
I kindly call upon Mr. Hari Tyagarajan, Executive Director, Tyagaraja Mills, to welcome the gathering and to introduce our guest of honor, Shri Shubha Vilas Prabhu. Sir, please.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome in our midst Dr. Shubha Vilas, who has come all the way from Mumbai. On behalf of Tyagaraja College of Engineering, the staff, principal and students, we would like to welcome him to this temple city and also to TCE. Dr. Shubha Vilas is a lifestyle coach, a storyteller and author. He studied and practiced patent law after completing his engineering degree, but finally chose the path of spiritual seeking. He has just completed his PhD from the Sastra University in leadership from Valmiki Ramayana, and his thesis is considered path-breaking in the field of leadership studies from ancient Indian texts. The Game of Life is his best-selling series. Some of you who are interested can purchase some of his books right outside this hall, which is kept there for sale. He is also the author of Open-Eyed Meditation, Mythical Tales for a Magical Life, and Perfect Love. 5.5 Ways to a Lasting Relationship. He has authored more than 30 thought-provoking books. The focus of his work is the application of spiritual wisdom to day-to-day life and addressing the needs of corporates and youth through power-packed lectures and seminars. He has delivered more than 6,000 talks, inspiring more than 5 lakh people across 20 countries in the last 10 years. He is also a visiting faculty at several premier business management schools in India, including the IIMs, the Narsi Munji Institute of Management Studies, Mumbai. He has also been a guest speaker at the prestigious MIT in the US, Dresden International University in Germany, WTS in Johannesburg, and several centers of Indian Institute of Technology in India. He is on the advisory board of MIT Pune's online education system. He has also spoken at several corporate headquarters such as Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Samsung in the US. To know more about him, one can visit his website www.shubhavilas.com. It is quite interesting to have him here today and to listen to him speak. Many of his speeches are already there on YouTube. When I requested him to come to Madurai and speak to our students, he said that on 26th he is coming to Madurai on another program to take about 10 people to Rameshwaram along with him. His group of 11 members have just left to go to Rameshwaram, where they are going to have a spiritual retreat for the next couple of days. And Mr. Shubha Vilas will be joining them at Rameshwaram shortly. So he said he will come and talk to us and then leave from here to Rameshwaram. So I would like to thank him for accepting our invitation at a short notice and being here this afternoon. And he was the one who chose this topic for today: stop worrying and start living. I think it is a very important topic which is relevant to all of us across many age groups. And it is quite interesting to note that he studied and practiced patent law for many years, and he said he has filed number of patents for many companies in Tamil Nadu, including Lakshmi Machine Works. And from the corporate world, he has stepped into a completely different path of spiritual seeking. So it will be interesting to know his ideologies and to know his views on how one needs to address issues such as depression and stress, which are becoming rampant day by day. He recently finished his PhD at the Sastra University, which was again focused on some of the principles that people can draw from our ancient Indian epics like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. I am sure that his lecture today will be useful to many of our students who are going to step into the corporate world very soon, on how they should be handling work pressure. And today we often hear about things like work-life balance, which was not very common some years ago. Today even a kid studying in school says that he or she is depressed. And somebody said in a lecture some time ago that in India, until few years ago or until few decades ago, there was no concept of stress or depression, because whatever we did, we always believed in it, we did it with passion. And now I think from the Western world, we are borrowing these negative aspects also. So I'm sure that his lecture will throw open some ideas for our students and faculty members on how we should be handling situations in life, which I think will be relevant to all of us here in this hall. I once again would like to invite him to give this special lecture on behalf of all of you. And he is also very active in the ISKCON movement, which is the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world. And they've been doing a lot of work across the globe on spreading the values of Hinduism. So on behalf of TCE, I would like to once again welcome Dr. Shubha Vilas this afternoon. And I would request him to come on to the stage, where we will be giving him our compliments, and from there he will start his lecture. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. நானும் தமிழ் தான், காஞ்சிபுரத்துலேருந்து. ஆனால் நான் இங்கிலீஷில் பேச போகிறேன், கொஞ்சம் தமிழில் பேசுவேன், சரியா? Before I start speaking, I'm just going to offer a few prayers and then we'll begin. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामो राम रामो हरे हरे। Very, very grateful and happy to be here at Tyagarajan College of Engineering. Very grateful to Sir Hari for having invited me here and being such a gracious and a wonderful host. And I'm very, very happy to be here amidst all of you all, budding engineering students. I remember few years back, I was sitting among y'all after my engineering, hearing lectures, and my engineering days, the 4 years that I spent, are the most memorable days of my life, and I'm sure all of you all agree to it also, that these days are the most memorable days of your life also. So today I'm going to be sharing with you all some very interesting thoughts that will help you understand some things that you can apply all your life, whether it is your professional life or your personal life. What I'm going to be speaking to you all today is going to be always relevant. So all of you, please feel free to write down things. If you want to remember some stories, remember some thoughts that I'm sharing with you all, please do write them down, because what I'm going to speak to you in the next 45 minutes or so is going to impact you all very deeply all your life, okay? Worrying is an integral part of life. Whether you want it or no, we will always worry. The question is, how do I stop worrying and start living? And that's what we're going to be discussing today. If you look at life, life is like a clock. It's running very fast, isn't it? When a small child looks at a clock, the child is always thinking, can the clock run faster? No child wants to remain small. They want to grow up, isn't it? So if you ask a small child, they're always thinking about what they will do when they become big. But if you ask an old man who is looking at the clock, they want to slow down the time, isn't it? Old people naturally want more time to live in this world, and they want to slow down the clock. The clock is same for everyone, but the way we look at the clock is different. So, allowing one's mind to dwell on worries and difficulties makes it very complex. I'm going to tell you all a Sanskrit shloka, and I'll tell you the meaning of the shloka later. The shloka says, Chita chinta samahayukta bindu matra visheshataha. It says, Nirjivam dahate chita, sajivam dahate chinta. What does this shloka mean? Chita, chinta, samahayukta. There are two letters, two words in Sanskrit. One is chita and second is chinta. It says samahayukta, means both are sound very similar, isn't it? Chita, chinta, sound same. But it says there is a big difference between the two. What is the difference between the two? Nirjivam dahate chita. When a person dies, chita burns once, isn't it? Funeral pyre burns you once. Sajivam dahate chinta. When a person is alive, chinta burns you every day. When you are, imagine how much worried you are on the day of your exam. Engineering exams. In the morning, how much stressed you are, how much chinta is there, how much worried you are, isn't it? And every day, chinta burns a lot of people. So difficulties are there in life. They are a part of life. But to dwell on the difficulties, that's what makes it very complex. I'll tell you my experience. Many years back, I was traveling in a boat on the Ganga. It's a small boat I was going on, and 4 of us were there in that boat and a boatman. As the boatman was rowing the boat, when we reached the middle of the river, we saw there was a small hole in the boat and water started entering the boat. When we saw the boat was filling up with water, I told the boatman, there is water filling in the boat. The boatman gave me a bucket. And he said, remove the water and throw it out if you want to stay alive. And then he asked us, do you all know swimming? None of us knew swimming. So he said, if you want to stay alive, throw the water from inside out. So you can imagine how much intensity we're throwing the water out. Our mind is like that boat. There is lot of water of worries all around us. But as long as there is no hole in the boat, no matter how much water is outside, it won't enter the boat. But the moment there is a small hole in that boat, all the water outside will enter into the boat. Our mind is exactly like this boat. There is so much of worry all around us. But that worry will not affect us as long as we don't have a small hole in the boat. And unless and until we allow the mind to trouble us, allow those worries to become a part of our life, they will not disturb us. But the moment you allow it to become a part of your life, they will disturb you a lot. There are some people who have the ability to handle worries in the right way. I don't know how many of you all know of the Nazi camps. Many years back in Germany, they used to have these camps called the Nazi camps, where they used to trouble people like anything. So the Germans would bring the Jews into the camp and they would torture them like anything. The worst type of torture any human beings have undertaken were undertaken in the Nazi camps. There was one guy who was a victim, who was a Jew in the Nazi camp, and the soldiers were troubling him like anything. But this man always smiled, and everywhere he would draw butterflies. So the soldiers were wondering, why is this fellow drawing butterflies everywhere? And he was the one who was being tortured, but he would counsel the soldiers. He would give advice to the soldiers. So one soldier went to him and asked him, how come you're not disturbed by us? How come you're so stable? How come you're not worried? How come you're not stressed out? And they asked him, why are you drawing butterflies everywhere? He would draw butterflies on the floor, on the walls, on the tent, paper, anywhere he would get place, he would draw butterflies. And this man gave a very interesting answer. You know what he said? He said, when I came into this camp, I was really miserable. But one day, I saw a small cocoon. You know what's a cocoon? Cocoon it's a shell in which a worm is there, and the worm tries to break open the cocoon. And when the worm was breaking open from the cocoon, and it was getting out of the cocoon, the sharp edges of the cocoon were cutting open the worm. All kinds of liquids were coming out from the worm's body. And the worm was suffering like anything. And this man said, I saw that worm coming out. And I kept observing that worm for hours and hours. After many, many hours of struggling like this, the worm came out completely, and that liquid that came out from the body of the worm, that became the wings of the butterfly. And he said, when I saw that butterfly fly away, I realized I am like that worm in the cocoon right now. But if I only have faith, and if I somehow just survive in spite of all the pain that I'm undergoing, one day I'll fly free like the butterfly. And that is my inspiration. So look at this man. He was suffering so much, but in that suffering also he found something to be hopeful of. And that's what the way in which we deal with our mind is. Worry gives a small thing a big shadow. The problem is small, the issue is very small, but you focus on it too much, it becomes so big. Just like if I hold this bottle in my hand, how much energy it takes to hold the bottle in your hand? Not much, isn't it? But if I hold this bottle in my hand for 1 hour, what will happen? This bottle will become heavy, isn't it? If I hold this bottle in my hand for 24 hours, what will happen? This bottle will become very, very heavy, isn't it? And if I hold this bottle in my hand 24 hours into 7 days, what will happen? My hand will get fractured, isn't it? The bottle's weight has not increased. But what has changed? The fact that I have held this for a long period of time. So the problem or the worry that you have may be very small. But if you hold it in your mind for a long period of time, that small worry, the small problem will appear very, very big and will appear very, very heavy. And that's why it is very important to learn how to deal with worries in life. Here is a very interesting statistics that all of you all should know. It says 60% of the things we worry about never take place. We think this person will do like this to me, this teacher will do like that to me, this friend will do like that to me. It will never take place. 60% of the things we worry about never take place. Then it says 15% of the things we worry about have already taken place. 17% of the things we worry about are people whom we can never change. And only 8% of the things we worry about are real problems that we can actually do something about. But somehow, 92% of the energy goes in the first 3. And by the time we reach the last 8% which we can do something about, we have no energy left only. Isn't it? That's the nature of the mind. The mind is so overwhelmed with the 92% that we can't do anything about, that it has no energy to focus on the 8% that we can actually do something about. And therefore, it is very important to learn what to do, how to deal with this whole process of worrying. I'm going to give you all some 6 or 7 formulas how to stop worrying and start living. And you just focus on these 6 or 7 things that I'm going to be sharing. So if you just focus on the 6 or 7 things that I'm going to be sharing with you all now, you will really be able to deal with this. Stop worrying, start living. The first tip to stop worrying and start living is mind your mind. Mind can turn heaven into hell or hell into heaven. The Bhagavad Gita says, your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. I'm sure all of you who are studying here understand this. Some of y'all, your mind is your best friend. And for some of y'all, your mind is your worst enemy. Depending on how you deal with it, your mind can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So, a lot of us, we give the remote control of our life to somebody else. Somebody else only controls our life, isn't it? I'll tell you a small story. There was once a small child who wanted a holiday from school. And this small child was thinking, how do I get a holiday from school? He thought, let me play a trick on the school. He came in the afternoon, after school hours, and he brought with him 3 sheep. And he numbered the sheep. The first sheep he put the number 1. Second sheep he put number 2. And on the third sheep he put number 4 and sent the sheep into the school. He went back home. Next day morning when the staff and the cleaners came, they saw all over the school there was sheep litter. They started running around searching for the sheep. They found number 1, number 2 and number 4. They started thinking, where is the number 3 sheep that is missing? They searched all over the school and they couldn't find the number 3 sheep. They declared a holiday, emergency. There's one sheep roaming around in the class. And they were searching for the number 3 sheep that didn't exist, isn't it? All of us in our own lives, we somehow have the number 1, 2 and 4. But we think happiness lies in the number 3 sheep that is missing from our life. All of us have the best of phones, but we think if only I have this particular phone, iPhone 14, I'll be happy. We have the best of scooters or bikes or whatever. Somehow if you think, if only I get this particular model of bike, I'll be happy. Every person is not happy with what they have, and they think if I get what the other person has, I'll be so happy. Isn't it? In the process of finding the number 3 sheep that is missing in our life, we forget to enjoy the 1, 2, and 4 that already exists in our life. And therefore, you have to learn how to deal with your mind. Your mind can make the best situation into the worst situation. Or if you want, the mind can make the worst situation into the best situation. I'm going to tell you all a story from the Mahabharata. And this story from the Mahabharata will exactly tell you what I'm talking about now. It's called the lens principle. What does the lens principle say? Lens principle says, who you are determines what you see in others. One time, Dronacharya, who was a guru of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, he called Duryodhan. He told Duryodhan, go into the kingdom and at least find one person who is better than you. Duryodhan went, met thousands of people, and he said, sorry, I couldn't even find one person who was better than me. Every person that he met, he found some fault in them. He had a big list of names of people and problems or shortcomings that they had. Every person he met, he found some problem in them. Dronacharya then called Yudhishthir, and he told Yudhishthir, go into the kingdom and at least find one person who is worse than you. Yudhishthir went, came back, and he said, sorry, I couldn't even find one person worse than me, because every person I saw, I found one good quality in them. Dronacharya was shocked. Duryodhan could not find even one person who was better than him. In every person he found faults. And Yudhishthira couldn't find one person who was worse than him. In every person he saw good. Who you are determines what you see in others. If you are a kind person, you look at everybody as kind. If you are a very critical person, you look at everybody as very critical. If you like good hairstyle, first thing you look at the other person, what is their hairstyle? If you like to dress well, the first thing you look at the other person and see how they are dressed. So who you are determines what you see in others. If you are only seeing faults in others, what does it mean? It means you yourself have so many faults. Isn't it? And if you are only able to see good in others, what does it mean? It means there is so much good in you. And therefore, the mind is a very powerful thing. To be able to utilize the mind in the right way is the key to happiness. So the first is mind your mind. The second thing is develop positivity. So what is the meaning of developing positivity? It simply means that you have to learn to see good in every situation of your life. Like there was a person who was going out for an interview and he was wearing a brand new suit, very well dressed. He and his friend got out of the house. As soon as they stepped out of the house, one crow passed over them and dropped, it passed stool. And this man's brand new suit was messed up. And this man said, thank God. So his friend who was next to him, he said, Arey, your suit is dirty now. How are you going to answer the interview? And you're saying, thank God here. This man said, thank God, elephants don't fly. Imagine if an elephant flew, how much quantity would have come down, So even in the worst of situations, you can find something good in it. If you think about it, that's what positivity is all about. Unfortunately, what we end up doing is, instead of accepting the realities, we are fighting with the realities of life. Let me tell you a story. There was once an elephant that was participating in an Olympic competition among animals. All the animals in the jungle were participating in an Olympic competition, and this elephant took part in a running race. Now imagine a running race where all animals are running. A cheetah, deer, tiger, elephant, all of them running in a running race. Who will win the race? Naturally, cheetah will win, fastest animal in the jungle. The elephant became very sad that it lost the race. It decided next year I'm going to win for sure. And one full year, the elephant went through jogging practice, weight loss programs, really did a lot. After 1 year, it participated again in running race. Guess who won? Naturally, cheetah won. Elephant went into depression. Permanently it went into depression, thinking I'm useless. If only the elephant participated in a wrestling competition or a weightlifting competition, there was no other way any other animal would have won. But this fellow wanted to win running race only, isn't it? A lot of us are exactly like this elephant. We don't know what our strengths are. We are not able to accept our realities. And unfortunately, instead of accepting our realities, we are comparing with somebody else. And therefore, the third thing that you can learn is to align your expectation with the realities of life. Today, our expectation is so high and reality is so low. The bigger the gap between expectation and reality, the more stress is there. If your reality is very close to your expectation, there is no stress at all. Unfortunately, people look at television nowadays to get inspiration, right? You look at television advertisements and you look at the advertisement thinking that if I do what they say, I will also become exactly like this. Have you ever seen imperfect people on the advertisement? Always see perfect people, isn't it? But in reality, is there perfection? Reality, only imperfection is there, isn't it? You look at Fair and Lovely advertisement and then you buy Fair and Lovely, apply kilos and kilos of Fair and Lovely. What happens? Nothing much happens. And people get depressed. One young boy watches an advertisement of underwear. One fellow is jumping from top of a building to save a girl, and he becomes a hero. And this fellow thinks, I will also wear that underwear, I will also become like that. What happens? Nothing much happens, isn't it? So our expectation is so high, but the reality is here. The bigger the gap between expectation and reality, the more miserable you are. The more aligned your expectation is with the reality of a life, the more happier you are. Let me give you a simple example. Look at this plant. This plant is known as a garden fern. It's a very simple plant. You can see it growing in any garden. If you plant the seed of a garden fern, within 3 months, it grows into a full-fledged plant. But it grows to about this much height. It doesn't grow bigger than this. Look at this plant. This plant that you see in front of you is called a Chinese bamboo. The interesting thing about this plant is that if you plant the seed of a Chinese bamboo, for 1 month, nothing grows above the ground. For 2 months, nothing grows. 3 months, nothing grows. 6 months, nothing grows. 1 year also, nothing grows. 2 years, absolutely nothing grows. 3 years, nothing grows out of the ground. But after 3 years, in a matter of 3 weeks, the Chinese bamboo grows to 100 feet in height. Now, if you compare a Chinese bamboo and a garden fern, which is better? Chinese bamboo is better or garden fern is better? Somebody say Chinese bamboo? Anybody feels garden fern is better? The point is, you can't compare the two. The Chinese bamboo has some advantages, but it has some weaknesses also. The garden fern has some advantages, it has some weaknesses also. All of us are exactly like these plants. Each one of us is unique. We're all unique creations of God. If you compare yourself with somebody else, you're only going to be miserable. The most important thing that you have to remember is to first accept your realities. Every one of us have been given some gift by God. When you accept your realities, what gift you have is unique. Focus on that strength. Focus on that gift. You will become the best version of yourself. Rather than comparing your gift with somebody else's gift or comparing your weakness with somebody else's strength, the best thing is find your own strength and focus on that intensely. And when we avoid unhealthy comparisons, we become a much more confident and a much more healthier person in our minds. So, the more we are comparing ourselves with other people, the more miserable we'll become. And the more we are able to accept our uniqueness, the better and more happier we become. So therefore, um, the first four things that I spoke about, first thing I spoke about is mind your mind. The second thing I spoke about is develop positivity. In the most negative situation of life, look at something positive. The third thing I spoke about is accept your realities. Each one of us have some strength. Focus on that strength, and that strength will help you achieve greatness. And the fourth thing I spoke about is do not compare yourself with somebody else. Everyone has one unique gift that they have been given. Rather than comparing yourself with somebody else, learn to accept yourself the way you are. And the fifth thing that I would like to speak to you all today about is choose to respond. And this is something very important that all of us should focus on. The way the world deals with us, we can't control. But the way we can deal with ourselves, we can control. I'm going to tell you all two stories. First, I'll tell you a story from the Ramayana. A very powerful story. It's one of my favorite stories. And the second, I'll tell you a story from real life. And both of it will help you understand what this meaning of this concept is, choose to respond. In the Ramayana, when Ram, Lakshman and Sita were in the forest, the golden deer came into their life. When the golden deer came into the life of Ram, Lakshman and Sita, Sita saw the golden deer and she wanted it. She told Ram, please get the golden deer for me. Ram told her, I'll get, and he was leaving. And before leaving, he told Lakshman, take care of Sita, I'll come back. Ram went away. Lakshman was taking care of Sita. In the meanwhile, as Ram was chasing behind this golden deer, at some point Ram realized it is not a golden deer, it's a demon named Marich. And the moment Ram realized it is a demon, he shot an arrow and killed the golden deer. But while dying, Marich, in the voice of Ram, he shouted out the name of Sita and Lakshman and died. Sita and Lakshman heard the sound of Ram calling out for help. Sita told Lakshman, please go and help your brother. Lakshman was very confident about Ram. He said, no, don't worry, nothing will happen to Ram. Sita was very worried about Ram. She told Lakshman, no, you go and help him. Now both of them had two different opinions, and this led to a conflicting situation. So Sita tells Lakshman, you please go right now. Lakshman tells her, I am very confident about my brother. He is not in trouble at all. Now Sita gets very angry. And she speaks something to Lakshman that really hurts Lakshman a lot. Sita tells Lakshman, I know why you are here and why you are not going. You are not going because you are waiting for a chance to Ram goes away so that you can enjoy me. Imagine, Sita is doubting Lakshman's character. So Lakshman is shocked. Lakshman has been serving Sita and Ram for last 13 years. He has given up the company of his wife. He has given up his comforts. He has given up his money. He has given up everything to be with these two people. And all day, all night, he is taking care of them. And look at what Sita is saying at the end of 13 years. She is doubting his character. Lakshman tells her, I'm going away from here. But I know for sure when I come back, you will not be here. Lakshman goes away. And he meets Ram on the way. Ram asks him, who told you to come here? I told you to guard Sita. So now Lakshman is bewildered. She is shouting at him and he is also shouting at him, And then they both come back, they find Sita is missing. And Ram blasts Lakshman like anything. He says, you are useless. Only one thing I told you to do, you can't do that also. And he's saying, you have no competence. Started blasting him like anything. Now imagine, if anybody else was in Lakshman's place, would they have continued being there? If you are in an organization and your character and competence is doubted, will you continue there? Obviously not. Lakshman, in spite of giving his youth, in spite of him giving everything to these two people, one is doubting his character and one is doubting his competence. Normally, if anybody else was in Lakshman's place, they would have said, hell with both of you all. Lakshman could have easily gone back, isn't it, to Ayodhya? He would have been happy over there. But no, Lakshman doesn't do that. He continues serving Sita and Ram for the remaining period of the exile. Why? Now tell me, what makes Lakshman stay there? I call this as press the pause button. Lakshman press the pause button. If an action movie is going on and a phone rings, what you will do? Press the pause button, isn't it? You don't want to miss any part of the action. Lakshman, the moment Sita spoke those words, Lakshman pressed the pause button. And he asked himself a question. The question that he asked himself is, does Sita mean what she spoke? The answer that he got from within his heart is no. Sita's concern for Ram is coming out in the form of these words. She doesn't mean it. She's concerned about Ram, and because of that, she's speaking like that. And when Ram spoke those words, again Lakshman pressed the pause button. And he asked himself the same question. Does Ram really mean what he spoke? And the answer that he got from within was no. His concern for Sita is coming out in the form of those words. Now, if all of us, we were there in Lakshman's place, could we have pressed the pause button? If somebody insults you, do you think you have the patience to press the pause button and all? You know? If somebody says anything to you, avladhaan, adik vendidhaan. You will not think also twice, right? You just go and hit the person, give back to the person. What made Lakshman press the pause button? And by the way, Lakshman was an angry young man. Throughout the Ramayana, he would get angry like that. At one point, he wanted to go and kill his own father, Dasharath. He was such an angry person. And such an angry person, how did he press the pause button in this particular situation? One thought helped Lakshman press the pause button. What was that one thought? There was one thought of gratitude that Lakshman had that helped him press the pause button. When Sita spoke those words, Lakshman had this one thought. 25 years Sita has deposited love in this relationship. And now she has made a withdrawal. Now she has made a mistake. Should I forget 25 years of love and only focus on this one mistake that she has made? That one thought of gratitude helped Lakshman press the pause button. And when Ram spoke those words, again, that one thought of gratitude came. 40 years Ram has deposited love in this relationship and he has made one mistake. Should I forget the 40 years of love and focus on this one mistake that Ram made? This one thought of gratitude helped Lakshman press the pause button. In all of us in our own lives, we have to remember one thing. There are many situations will be exactly like this. That will determine whether you will be successful or no in life. When someone says something to you, how you react. We all are very good in communication skills. In fact, in engineering, I think there are 2 semesters where we are taught communication skills, isn't it? Now, communication skills is a part of life. My quality of my communication to the world outside determines my success. But the quality of my communication to the world inside determines my happiness. If I am able to communicate with other people, I will be very successful in life. But if I want to be happy in life, I have to start communicating with myself. Let me tell you a story, a very interesting story that I heard many years back. There was one lady who was in a supermarket with her daughter. And this child was crying like anything. And this mother kept looking at the child and told her, Jennifer, relax. And the daughter was crying and crying and crying. The mother told her, Jennifer, don't create a scene here, just relax. And the daughter kept crying more and more and more. And the mother said, Jennifer, don't react. Please relax. So there was an old man who was observing this. This old man walked up to this lady and told her, Ma'am, don't you think you're talking a language that is too adult-like? Why don't you talk a more child-friendly language? The mother looked at the old man. She said, what makes you think I'm talking to her? Jennifer is my name. I'm telling myself, Jennifer, relax. Many times, what your boss says, you can't do anything about. What your teachers say, you can't do anything about. What your parents say, you can't do anything about. What your friends say also nowadays, you can't do anything about. What you can do something about is what you respond. How you respond, isn't it? The quality of my communication to the world outside determines my success. But the quality of my communication to the world inside determines my happiness. If you want to be happy in life, start talking to yourself. If you want to really be able to control life, you start focusing on how the way you respond in life. So the next time you are standing in a line and somebody jumps the line and goes ahead, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. The next time you are waiting outside a toilet and the fellow who's inside not coming out only, tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. So the next time you go to a restaurant or a hotel and you're waiting for food to come, after a long time the waiter comes out and the waiter gives the food to other table, you tell yourself, Jennifer, relax. There are many things in life where we don't have control. And those are the very situations where we have to take charge inside. Outside, we don't have much control over how others behave and how others respond. But we have control over how we behave and how we respond. And therefore, choosing to respond is one of the most important ways in which you can stop worrying and start living. And the sixth way is have faith in God. There are many problems in life that don't have a solution. All of us want solutions to many problems in life, isn't it? But when we come across some very complicated problems in life that don't have a solution, then what to do? Let me tell you a story. One time, there was a man who was on his deathbed. He wrote a will and he died. He told to his lawyers, my will is half my property should go to my sons. 1/4 of my property should go to my relatives. And 1/5 of my property should go to a local trust in charity. He said like this and died. After he died, the lawyers found out what his property was. And the lawyers found out his property was 19 horses. Now they were thinking, how do I divide 19 horses into half and 1/4 and 1/5? They were very confused. They called all the logicians and mathematicians of the village. And they told, please help us divide 19 horses into half and 1/4 and 1/5. The logicians and mathematicians, they really did all their calculations and did every possible mathematical equation. And they finally said the only way to divide the property according to this will is if we cut 2 or 3 horses into half. And they were actually thinking of doing that. Exactly at that time, one wise man came to the village riding on his horse and he saw this commotion. And he told all of them, what is the problem? They said, no, it's a very complicated problem. You can't help it. You go from here. He said, tell me what the problem is first. And then they told him. He said, very simple. He got off his horse and he put his horse among the 19 horses. Now it became 20 horses. He said, now divide. They divide to half. 10 horses gave the sons. And he said, now again divide. 1/4. 4 horses they gave to the relatives. And then he took his own horse back and he said, 5 horses give it to the local trust in charity. Problem solved. They were amazed. They said, how did you solve the problem so easily? It was such a complicated problem. And he gave a very interesting sutra that I want to share with all of you all. He said, whenever you come across a problem that has no solution logically, that has no rational solution, that is the time you bring in the 20th horse, which is God. And when you bring the 20th horse in, automatically half the problems get solved. There will be many times in your life where you have no solution to a problem. When you might find that, I don't know only how to solve this problem. Simply offer a small prayer. And that might solve a lot of the most complicated problems of life. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't put effort. It simply means you put effort and leave the result to God. And finally, the last solution that I would like to leave you all with today is known as serve others. Psychologists, they say, one of the number one reasons for worry in today's world is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness means what? Thinking only about yourself. Today, most people, like Sir was talking about depression being such a common thing in today's world. You know what I tell youngsters whenever I talk about depression? One of the things I tell people is, anyone who says I'm depressed, you know what it simply means? It means that they are selfish. Depression is one of the highest forms of selfishness. And I'll explain to you why I'm saying that. If somebody says I'm depressed, you know what is the litmus test to test whether a person is depressed or no? give that person a bag of sweets and tell that person, go and give these sweets to needy people. You know what they will say? They will say, I am only suffering so much and you're telling me to help others. Exactly, that's what it means. That means they are so much thinking about themselves that they have no time for others. A simple solution for depression is start taking out 5 minutes every day and try helping someone else. And you'll be amazed. The more you help others, the better you feel. There is a very, very beautiful chemical in our body. There are many chemicals that get released in our body, right? There is one particular chemical which has to be released for a person to feel happy in life. So this chemical is also known as a happiness chemical. And this chemical is called serotonin. And you know why serotonin gets released? Serotonin gets released when you do something for others that they can't return back to you. When you do something for somebody else that you can't get back anything in return, it releases a chemical known as serotonin. And this is known as a happiness chemical. If you want to be happy in life, every single day, make it a point to help someone who is in need. You may not get anything back in return, but still help that person. And that little help that you do for somebody else will really help you in your personal life to feel happy and to feel excited. I'm going to show you all a small video that will help you understand this better. This video doesn't have sound, it has some music, but it doesn't matter. Watch carefully what this video is, and you will learn so much from this. Sometimes a little bit of what you do for others, it might really help you in your personal life. So a lot of times when we serve others and help others, we think that they will be happy. Actually, that's not the case. You do something for others so that you will be happy. And when you do a little bit for others, you realize that you are much more happier than by taking from others. And therefore, these are the 7 things that you can learn for how to stop worrying and start living. We started by talking about mind your mind. Then we spoke about developing positivity. And then we spoke about how you should align yourself with the realities of life. And as much as possible, avoid unhealthy comparison with other people. And then we spoke about how to choose to respond and not react. Remember the story of Lakshman and Jennifer. And then we spoke about having faith in God, the story of the 19 horses, and finally, the joy of serving others and helping others in their lives. I hope these 7 things will help you to stop worrying and start living. If any of you liked what you all heard just now, and you would like to know more, there are many books that I have written which are in the exact same style in which I am speaking. I have written an entire series of books called Ramayana, the Game of Life. It is the entire story of Ramayana with life lessons, what you can learn from it. From this series, you can not only improve your own English vocabulary, but you'll also learn a lot from the story of the Ramayana. Every single story in the Ramayana has lessons just like the one I spoke. Similarly, there is a book called Open-Eyed Meditations. This book has 64 chapters. Any problem that you ever come across in life, or any aspect of life that you want a solution for, there is a chapter in this book. And it has stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata that help you find solutions to every problem that you have in your life. It's called Open-Eyed Meditations. There's a book called Perfect Love. This has 6 love stories from our scriptures. And each love story teaches you one way how to make relationships work. And then there's another book called Timeless Tales to Ignite the Mind. This book has about 50 stories from India, including Tenali Raman, including Vikram Betal, and all of these stories, what you can learn lessons from it. And finally, there's another book called The Magic of Friendships. This book talks about how you can make friends and keep friends for life. So I would highly recommend all of you to have a copy of these books. It will help you in your personal life, in your careers, and as well as in your professional journeys. Very, very happy and grateful to all of you all. And if any of you all have any questions or comments at this point, you can please raise your hands and we can have some question answers. Thank you. Any of the teachers, staff, or students who would like to ask any questions, please raise your hands. No questions. It means either you understood everything or understood nothing. I'm hoping you understood everything.
Sir, good evening. Many times we have our own expectations, but due to the societal pressure or other influences, our expectations are changing, and due to this, we have our own stress. So, what do you want to say about that, sir?
Yeah. So, this is called peer pressure. Essentially, when we change our expectations based on what society wants us to do, that creates a lot of stress in us. Obviously, that is true. But the worst form of violence you can do to yourself is do something because somebody is saying. Today, at least the younger generation, I can tell for sure. How many of you all here have Instagram accounts? Tell me. Put up your hand. All those who have Instagram account, they are miserable people. Why? They're comparing themselves to somebody else, isn't it? The more you compare yourself with other people, the more miserable you are. As simple as that. So essentially, if you want to be happy in life, first find what you are good at and be honest with it. Because if you succumb to pressure, the society always wants you to do something that you are not good at. And you will be miserable. So my humble understanding is, first find who you are, find your strengths, and focus intensely on your strength, and there's a very good chance you will get good results. But if you compare with somebody else, every day your comparison will keep changing. And every day society's expectations from you will keep changing. You will never ever become perfect in anything. Make sense, sir? Great. Yes, sir. Mind and brain. Okay. Mind is a storehouse of thinking, willing, feelings. Mind is like a software. Brain is like a hardware. So for the hardware to function, there has to be software. But for the software to be useful, there has to be hardware. So both of it have to work in sync. So the scriptures talk about two types of bodies that we have. One is a gross body, which is made up of earth, water, fire, air, ether, elements. Then there's a subtle body, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. These three make up the software. And the electricity is coming from the soul, the Atma. So we have a hardware, we have a software, and we have electricity also. That's what makes a complete human body. Make sense, sir? Anything else? Yes, sir.
Sir, if you could just highlight from our epics on examples of leadership,
Okay.
maybe with specific instances, if you can say this is how leadership was portrayed in our epics.
I'll give you a solid example of leadership. There is a concept of leadership which is known as invisible leadership. I'm going to tell you all a very small story from the Ramayana that will really show you what good leadership is. When, since we are in Madurai and I'm going to Rameshwaram, this story is fresh in my mind, where the Vanaras were in search for Mother Sita, and they came to know that Sita is across the ocean in Lanka. There's an 800-mile ocean to cross. So the question was, who's going to do it? So every person started talking about their strengths. Somebody said, I can do 10 miles. Somebody said, I can do 20 miles. Somebody said, I can do 50 miles. Somebody said, I can do 100 miles. Then finally, one person, Angad, he said, I can do 800 miles. But I'm not sure if I can come back. So everyone was very sad and they didn't know what to do. At that time, one of them, who was the oldest among them and the most experienced, his name was Jambavan. So Jambavan started looking at all the Vanaras in the army, and he found one of them had not spoken at all, and that was Hanuman. Jambavan went and sat next to Hanuman and started reminding Hanuman of his powers. And as Jambavan kept reminding Hanuman of his powers, Hanuman started realizing how powerful he is. He started growing big in size. And then eventually, if you study the entire Ramayana from that point onwards, every page Hanuman is a hero. Every page, literally, Hanuman only does so many things. But how many times do you find after that the name of Jambavan coming in the Ramayana? 3 or 4 times. Imagine if Jambavan was a manager of today in some corporate world and Hanuman is working under him. And if Jambavan realizes that I can't do it and Hanuman can do it, most managers today, they'll say, forget Sita, forget Ram. If I can't do it, nobody should be able to do it. They will not inspire Hanumans at all. But Jambavan was an invisible leader. What is the meaning of invisible leader? Invisible leader means, from the world's point of view, Hanuman is a hero. He is visible to everybody, isn't it? But from Hanuman's point of view, Jambavan is a hero. Because Jambavan is the one who reminded him of his powers. And because of Jambavan, Hanuman found his potential. In today's world, what is really needed is more of invisible leaders like Jambavan than only visible leaders like Hanuman. And interestingly, Hanuman was the visible leader in the Ramayana, right? But if you study the role of Hanuman in the Mahabharata, what was Hanuman doing in the Mahabharata? Nothing. He was sitting on the flag of Arjun, doing nothing literally. In the Mahabharata, Hanuman became an invisible leader and he inspired Bhima to become the visible leader. And Bhima was the hero of the Mahabharata, literally. And Hanuman didn't do much. He only inspired Bhima, only trained Bhima. So every leader at some point will be a visible leader, but at some point has to become an invisible leader. So that means that we can be seen by the world, but we also have to play a part in somebody else's life like Jambavan. So we can't always be like Hanuman that we are seen in the world. We have to sometimes be the silent, invisible leader. We are not seen by others, but if that person ever talks about, how much I achieved, they will always tell your name. That's what invisible leader is. So we need a combination of these two, visible and invisible leader in life. Thank you very much. It's been an honor and pleasure to be with all of you all here at Tyagarajan Engineering College. Very, very grateful. Wishing all the students all the very best in your careers. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for really making us put a pass to our worry and to live this very moment. I'm sure we will all take up your words for life to live, and for all your patience towards answering the questions from the audience. I kindly call upon Dr. M. Palaninadaraja, Principal in Charge, Head and Professor of Mechatronics, to deliver the vote of thanks. Sir, please.
Good evening, everyone present over here. It's my privilege and honor to propose a vote of thanks in this great evening. First and foremost, I wish to thank our trustee, Mr. Harithyarajan, for arranging this wonderful lecture to all the students and faculty members. Thank you very much, sir. We are very grateful and very much thankful to you, sir. Dr. Shubha Vilas is a very known personality in the corporate world, probably. He's a spiritual speaker, as we all know, but very elementarily, he has said that how much we are worrying, and so that we can overcome by start living with the 7 principles in his own parlance. Probably we take it in a positive note, how to start living with a less worrying, probably immediately on a one day it is not possible to change our mind immediately. Mind our minds, and probably soon we will start living. Then I wish to thank our social media for propagating this information among the students and the public. That's about this today's event. Thank you very much for the patient listening by the students. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे